relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Calling all canines. It's Phil Moriarty from the BC Canine Training Center on this episode of Experts on Call here on AM 650. BCCanine.com. Great website. Tell you all about the center and all of the training options that are available. And Phil, we were talking about training techniques, and specifically in the last segment, we were talking about some of the dogs that you work with at the BC Canine Training Center and put them through the training for service and working lives. And they have very strict testing, and once they pass these tests at the BC Justice Institute, the dog is certified, and off it goes into a career in security or service work. But all of that incredible extra additional training is built upon the same foundation you offer to anyone who brings a dog to the BC Canine Training Center. That's the 2-week basic obedience program.
Right.
And during the program, and with us on the radio over time, we've learned that dogs respond to 2 things, not 1, but 2 things when they're being trained and when they're being ordered about. They respond to commands, and equally, they respond to body language. It is about a 50-50 split, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As far as what I'm trying to get here is, once the dog goes through the basic program, then you bring the dog's owner in, and you have to teach him or her how to issue commands. And part of that is with a hand signal in some cases, or a one-word spoken command. You try to combine the 2 initially, don't you?
Right. Otherwise, it's 100% split.
Right.
Yeah. So I was wondering whether 50% was going to be accurate. That's why I laughed.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So if the body language doesn't say the same thing to the dog that the command said, then you're confusing the dog.
Right.
You're telling me to do one thing and you're showing me to do something else. Even just simply, if you can picture raising your hand and then putting your hand down and saying to the dog, sit. Well, which one did you want me to do? You put your hand up and then you put your hand down.
Right.
Or a lot of people will use their finger in front of the dog's nose and point to the ground. They want the dog to go down.
Right.
The dog won't go down. He goes partway down, then he comes back up. Well, he's following your finger.
Oh. And so, but was that a mute command with just a finger and no verbiage?
Can be.
Okay.
Can be. You can say down, but you've told the dog to go down, but now your finger is telling him to go up. You're saying to the dog, down, and you're inferring that it follows your finger when you're saying that word.
Ah.
Right? So you're either going to say the word and leave the signal and see if the dog does it. If he knows what he's doing, he'll do it.
Right.
But if you're not going to do the signal right, leave it out.
Right. Or if you are going to do the signal, take your finger all the way to the ground.
And leave it there until he goes down.
Right.
Instead of he gets halfway down, oh, he's going down. Now I stand back up and he's followed my finger.
Right.
Now, when my dog doesn't go down, he goes halfway down and he comes back up.
And I would imagine after a few of these mixed messages, to be kind, some dogs just go tilt. Do not compute.
Yeah, a lot of dogs just lay down and sort of on their side or on their back and just give up. They're confused. I'm sure a lot of people will picture their dogs doing this, where they've tried to get their dogs to do something. They've tried to train them. The dog just lays down, and you've got to drag him.
Right.
And well, the dog is just confused. He's given up. You're telling him one thing, you're showing him something else, and then you're telling him something different, and he doesn't know what to do.
So I'm gathering, though.
All he knows that he's not doing anything right.
Right. And so, tilt. I'm out of here. I'm just going to lie down. You figure it out.
Except that he's probably doing exactly what you asked him to do, which is really confusing him.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've asked him about 3 different things, 3 different ways, and now he doesn't know which one he's doing. But, the dog is trying to read your body language. He's trying to hear your voice, and he's trying to trying to engage with you. And if you're not giving the proper signals to the dog, then you're just confusing him.
Which is all the more reason for the owners to be involved in the training process. At the end of the dog session, it's the owner's turn, and the dog and the owner participate in replicating the commands with the body language and the words that the dog has been exposed to for the last week or two.
Exactly, because it's the body language and the commands that the dog is going to follow, and if you don't know what you're doing with them, then the dog is just going to get confused. I've seen, you can picture people who maybe go to a grocery store, they want their dog to stay outside, so they say sit, and the dog's not sitting, he's smelling at something that's close by, or some other person going into the store. No, sit, and the dog starts to sit, and then you move. Now the dog gets back up. Well, the dog saw you move. He thinks, I guess we're going someplace.
Right.
You didn't say stay.
Right.
And he doesn't know what stay means. You haven't told him stay. All you've said is sit, and now you're moving.
And then you tied his leash to the bicycle rack, and now you've walked into the store, and he's tied up to the bicycle rack, and he's going to start barking now because he's really confused, and you're not there anymore.
Yeah. So all your body language is just confused the dog and made him think that you're abandoning him.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he can keep you in sight, that's a different story. But if he can't keep you in sight, now he's probably going to start pulling on that thing, or oh, my dog, he's really. But it could be a lethargic dog, who is maybe old enough that he really doesn't care as much anymore.
Right.
He doesn't need to burn as many calories as a young, curious dog.
Right.
So body language is just so important.
Okay, so I'm a shopper in that store where the owner of that dog has just tied the dog to the bicycle rack outside, or the garbage can outside the entrance to the supermarket. So now I come out and I got my bag of groceries, and there's a dog, and he's tied up, and kind of a cute-looking dog. And I go over there, hey, doggy, how you doing? And I let him sniff my hand. I want to give him a pat because he's kind of cute. And the dog tries to bite my hand. It growls and then barks or tries to bite or nip. Why do dogs do that? All I want to do is say, hi, doggy, you're kind of cute, and I think it's a nice day. Why did they do that?
Because you invaded his space. You didn't allow the dog to sniff you first. If you're going to greet a dog, let the dog come to you. I mean, the dog is on a leash, so it can only go so far. So if you think that you want to pet the dog, first of all, I would always check with an owner.
Well, yeah. But come on, people do that, Phil.
Okay,
you see a cute dog outside a supermarket on a leash, you go over and go, hi, doggy. People do it.
That's right. So who's wrong?
And some of them get bitten.
Yeah, so who's wrong? The dog?
I doubt that.
Yeah. So, common sense is don't put your, if you want to stay out of the fire, don't jump into it.
Right.
But let's assume that the person wants to pet the dog and has the permission of the owner and all that sort of thing.
Different ballgame, isn't it?
So let's make that assumption.
All right.
You still don't go up to the dog in the same way and put your hand over top of it and start petting it. Oh, you're cute, you're cute, you're cute.
Right.
Snap. Because the dog is on a leash. It's restricted.
Right.
It can only move a certain distance. It doesn't feel like it can get away from you.
Right.
It doesn't know you from Adam. And not that Adam's a bad guy.
He's my son, actually, truth be known.
Is he?
My oldest son is Adam,
yeah,
yes. And he loves dogs, too.
And he nips on his fingers.
No.
So, but if you're going to do that, you can encroach into the dog's area, but don't look at him. And don't make eye contact with him, and just let him sniff you first.
What's up with the eye contact?
Well, you could be challenging the dog by looking at him.
Really?
Yeah. You're not a superior being when you come up to a dog, bend down, start to pet him right away. He's the leader. It's his choice what's going to happen next.
You've gone to him.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've invaded his space, and it hadn't been his choice.
Right.
Well, he's going to make a choice pretty soon.
Right.
Either yes or no. So if you don't look at him, but now he's close enough that he can sniff at you, let him sniff at you.
Sure.
And then once he's sniffed at you, okay, he's got you in his repertoire now of scents. And now you can sort of just drop your hand a little bit and let him sniff your hand.
Right.
And then under his chin, pet him a little bit.
Oh, so
but
not on
never
the top
over
of the head.
No, that's where he's been beat before, if he's ever been beat.
Ah, okay.
And he can't see what's above him when you've covered his eyes.
Right.
Lots of dogs will shy away when
They
you
sure
put
do, yeah.
You know, you're blocking his vision. We have to think like the dog does.
Right.
And from the dog's point of view, what is going on? I see some great big guy that I don't know. He's coming over, and folks, this guy's big.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, he sees this whole thing coming at him that he doesn't know. His owner's inside.
Right.
He's protecting this territory.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy that he doesn't know.
And he's on a leash, so he can't get away.
Who's pretending he's friendly, is coming over with a high-pitched voice and saying,
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm not into this right now. I'm into looking for Mom.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, but if you let the dog come to you, the dog will be far more friendly.
Phil, is this why so many children have negative experiences with dogs? Because they don't get taught how to even approach a strange dog, and they end up on the wrong side of a nip or a little bite.
Yep. And sometimes it's not just strange dogs. Lots of times it's the family pet that bites the kid.
Really?
Yeah.
And that would be the end
because
of
the kid
the pet
loves
in that family in some cases.
Because the dog loves, or the child loves the pet so much.
Right.
Picks the dog up and hugs it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't know how the dog doesn't like that. They don't know how much the dog doesn't like that until they get bit. The dog will tolerate it, and he may tolerate it for a long time. He may tolerate it time after time after time, but on a bad day where he's hot and cranky and maybe tired out, and all he wants to have is his space, he doesn't want some little kid coming up. Oh, no, there's my dog, and you pick him up and you squeeze him. Now you confine the dog.
Right.
No dog likes to be held. They like to be couched.
As it's
in your arms, where they've got room to move their feet around and that sort of thing. But
right.
when you can picture a kid coming up, grabbing a hold of the dog around the neck, and probably got a couple of paws caught in his other arm.
Oh, sure.
And now you're kissing the dog and all that sort of thing.
Right.
Well, that's a recipe for being bit.
So if you have small children in your life and a dog, especially, for example, suppose you're the aunt and uncle or the grandparents, and occasionally the kids come by, and so it's not their dog, and they're not there all the time, but the dog's kind of used to them. It's really important to take the time with those children and teach them how to relate to the dog properly so you avoid those nips and bites.
Assuming they knew.
Right.
Assuming they knew the proper way to teach the dog to do that.
And there's
because
perhaps...
they may remember their days as I had this little dog and I used to hug it and kiss it and it'd lick me and all that sort of thing, right? So if that's their concept, and then that might be what they're teaching the grandkids.
So much of dog training is just plain good old-fashioned common sense, isn't it, Phil?
And the dog will give you indicators. Whether it's enjoying this or it isn't.
If they growl, is that a warning sign to, okay, this is as close as I want this to get?
Well, that's a pretty far down the list, high on the list, rather, indication that it's not having fun.
Okay.
I mean, a growl is the next thing to the bite.
Yeah.
So
what about early warning? Do we need to take a break here? Let's take the break because I don't want to break this up. If there are...
You don't want to break it up, but let's take a break anyway.
Well, no. But
let's go.
There's this whole sequence of clues that a dog will give you before it starts to growl and takes a snap at you. And I'd like to go through that sequence in order after this important timeout.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call, and there's more still ahead on AM 650.